So in today's video, I'm going to be looking at finding the maximum volume that I can turn my head unit up before it starts to distort. Because in order to accurately set the gain levels on your amplifiers, you need to be able to know where exactly your head unit starts to distort. You know, basically how far up you can turn the volume. That's the good thing about the DD-1 to find these things, is there's no guesswork. A lot of people will just turn it up to 3/4 volume and all this kind of stuff, and it's just not very accurate. You're either going to leave some power on the table, or you may be sending the distorted signals, or you may have distortion and you don't know it. That's the good thing about the DD-1. So anyway, in order to really do that, there's some things you have to do to your head unit first. It calls for, now this is the way I do it. So I'm just going to go into your settings real quick. The instructions say to set your equalizer to flat, which is what we have here. If you notice, subwoofer level, I do have that at 10, and I'll probably go over that in a minute, but I do have the subwoofer maxed out to level 10. Equalizer is all flat. In different radios may be different. I like these Kenwoods myself. Sound effect, all of this is set to off. There's no loudness, bass boost off. All this stuff is on off. Crossovers off. All this other stuff. I do like the volume offset. This is probably one thing that I will do. I may try to see when after I set the gain, I'm going to come back in and see if I can turn these up. And basically these are just individual volumes. Like I use Bluetooth on my phone to play all the music on the head unit, so you could come back in and actually crank that up a little bit. CD players, all this other stuff, your radio, if you have an iPod, if you play through USB, that allows you to get a little bit more maybe of a fine tune with it. So once you have all this stuff set in your head unit, I'm going to go back here and play some test tones through my phone and through the radio. So I'm going to pause it where I can get back here and do that. Okay, now I'm back here and I'm going to get this set up, and I'm going to show you there's a few steps to follow here. Before you go to playing test tones, you want to make sure that all your speakers are not connected to your amplifiers. That's the first thing you want to make sure you do, because you don't want that playing through your speakers. The instructions say you can do this one of two ways. You can actually go plug your DD-1 directly from your RCAs, which that's what I'm going to do here. Just going to unplug these, and I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Okay, and it doesn't matter which RCA you use, either one. I'm going to be playing these through my phone. Now there's one or two things that we want to do here on your phone first. When you're doing this, when you're setting these gains initially, you want to make sure that your phone volume is all the way up, which in case mine is because going back to basically what the sub level is on your head unit, you want to be able, once you set your gains, you don't really want to go any higher. After you set your gain, you don't basically want to add any more voltage to your system, because and again, I'm no expert on this stuff, but you don't want, once you have your gains and your settings set, you don't want to be able to add any more voltage, and turning the volume up on these things is what's going to do that. So if you have your volume at max and you set your gain, you're not going to come back later, and just like just to go back real quick, that's just like your subwoofer level. You have it at max, when you set your gain, you're not ever going to come back in and cut this up. Some people may set it to 0 or 10 or 5. I like to set mine at the max. That way I don't ever come back in and turn it up and add any kind of distortion like that. That's how I do it, just so you can kind of do it however you want. So I've made sure that my phone is set all the way to max volume, and I'm going to go into settings real quick on this iPhone. I'm going to go into settings and then music, and these iPhones actually have an EQ built into it. I leave that off, and also cellular streaming, I have that on high quality, which really doesn't make a difference for this, but I make sure I turn the EQ off when setting this. So I'm going to go back to the test tones, and you can get these test tones when you get a DD-1. It comes with a CD that has test tones. Most radios now, head units, don't even have even able to play CDs anymore. But you can go to their website, the Diamore or Steve Mead website, and you can download these test tones, which is what I've done. So you've got your phone up, you've got your radio ready to go, you got everything set to flat. Now you're pretty much ready to play test tones. So I'm going to cut on the DD-1, and like I say, it doesn't matter which one of these RCAs you plug in, because I'm going to do the sub amp first, the monoblock amp. I'm going to play, it calls to play a 40 hertz test tone, 0 dB. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing this test tone, and depending on how loud your volume is on your head unit to start with, I'm going to turn mine down to say like 23 to get started. You're going to come over here and you're going to watch your DD-1. I'm trying to get it where it's not the sunlight, where it can be seen a little better. Anyway, you should be able to see that, hopefully. The DD-1 is detecting signal, and depending on how loud you turn your volume, it'll detect signal, then it's going to detect your 40 hertz. So now what you're going to do is just keep turning your volume up until you see the distortion light come on. And since I already know 31, I'm going to back that down to volume 30, no distortion. 31, I have distortion. So just to show you on the volume itself, it was already on 31. I'm going to cut it back down to 30. No distortion. And then once you remember that number, remember 30. So I'm going to go over here and do the same thing to your mid amp, because you want to find out what your max volume is playing a 1000 hertz track. So I'm going to unhook this and hook this directly into the RCA over here, coming from the head unit. Should be able to see that. So now I'm just going to go over here, play track 2. It's going to be your 1000 hertz 0 dB test tone. I'm going to come back and just turn the volume down a little bit. So I'm going to start playing it. The DD-1 detects signal, and in the same process, you're just going to turn your volume up. DD-1's detected your signal. and you may see these little red blips or dots come up. That's really not going to matter until it lights up fully. And in this case, I am at full volume. Just to show you, goes up to 35, this head unit. 35, and there's no distortion. So at that point, this particular head unit can go to full volume. However, because the sub amp only goes to 30, that's the volume that you take the minimum. The manual actually says to average them out, whatever your volume levels are for your sub amp and your full range amp, and average them. I'm just going to go to the lowest of the two, which in this case is 30. So that means I'm not going to play anything over volume 30. Which also to note, once I have these set up, the manual says you can go back and change these. The distortion levels, I don't change any of these. Like, I keep my equalizer on flat. I don't use any of these, and I've found that my system still sounds good. I don't run any of this stuff, none of these things. So now that I have that, and I mean, that's pretty much it. Once you know your volumes, you're pretty much done setting the head unit, and then you can move on to setting your amplifiers. I'm going to cover that in a different video, but you know, that's pretty much it. This DD-1 makes it that easy. You just plug it in and you turn your volume till you see the lights come on. I mean, that's it, and that's why I like having the DD-1.